So some years ago, Venerable Children was leading a retreat in Malaysia, and I was helping to translate into Chinese for a small group of lay friends. So over some days, we became quite familiar with each other. And one day, one of the men in the group asked me, "Do you have friends?" And the way he asked the question was like I was an alien species or something. So I was kind of taken aback, and I just said, "Yes, I have friends. My best friend is Venerable Children." And then he looked like he so did not expect me to say that. It was just like the weirdest answer to him. And that was the end of that conversation. So this whole thing of, who are our friends and how that changes, especially when we've met the Dharma, and how we relate to each other as monastics too when we come into a monastery and in monastic life is just something that's been up for me for a while. And I think, when I first came here as a trainee, it was in my late 20s, and so much of my refuge was in my friends, as in my worldly friends. If anything went wrong in my life, something bad happened, that's who I would get on the phone with, right? And call and complain, or they're supposed to say nice things to me, make me feel better. And then after meeting the Dharma, that shifts, right? You're trying to take refuge not in some external person or your group of friends, but also in people who are going to guide you to cultivate virtue. So, so I was kind of aware I have this issue with attachment. Yeah. So when I first joined the community, there were 3 Anagarikas here at that time. One of them left. And then so there was just me and another Anagarika. And, I wasn't even conscious of this at the time. But back when I was in college, I had 3 good friends who were all queer black men who were artists. Yeah. So for some reason, karma ripened that way. So when I met this other Anagarika, who I guess identified as queer, was a biracial man and was formerly an artist, for some reason my mind just went, oh, this is a safe person. Based on these attributes, based on familiarity, oh, this is a safe person. I already know how he thinks, I assume. He thinks the same way as all my old friends. We share a certain understanding about the world and arts and things like that. So I just made all those assumptions about this person. Yeah, and we had a lot of interaction with each other as the 2 trainees, right? So we were working in the forest a lot together. At the time, he was the kitchen manager because the actual kitchen manager was away on full ordination. So I was learning to cook at the time. When I came to the monastery, I could not cook to save my life. So I was learning from a different person every day. And so many times things did not go well in the kitchen. The bean patties just did not congeal. You have 20 minutes left. And he would come and save me. I'd be like, then this person who knew what to do would just come and help. And as you know, I'm fairly high-strung. So this person is quite chilled out. Right, so they were like a good balance that way. Yeah. So, we're training together over time. And then it transpires that he decides to ordain somewhere else. Yeah, he decides, okay, maybe it's not such a good fit here, or for whatever reasons, he feels more at home in this other tradition. He wants to ordain somewhere else. And I was so shocked by this. I had all this, it was amazing to see the attachment that had just grown over this little period of time, but to experience the mental pain of that, I think it was like, whoosh, all those thoughts of like, what? Wait a second, we're friends. You're supposed to stay here. We're supposed to work together forever, the rest of our lives, and who's gonna rescue me in the kitchen? And maybe because we were in training here and it was, your mind's a bit quieter, I could see for the first time so clearly, oh, this is the outcome of my attachment to people. Oh, so painful. I built up this whole bubble that's totally not true. All these assumptions about this person I barely even know. And actually, I don't really care about them. They found a place that they want to ordain. They want to ordain. Shouldn't you be happy for them? No. Yeah, I only care about me, right? Like, I'm losing my friend. Like, okay. So it was a really, sobering experience here in training. And of course, like Venerable said this morning, you see your attachment, you see your afflictions, you try and work with them again and again. It doesn't go away overnight. Yeah. One strange experience I had was, again, there were guests coming we have lots of guests coming and going. And then we had this couple come for like a long period of time. And the woman of the couple reminded me so much of another friend I had at college. So again, we work a lot together in the woods, and just the way of interaction, I'm like, oh, I miss this way of talking to someone, It doesn't exist in our community right now. Yeah, we interact in this way that reminds me so much of this old friend, and all these thoughts are proliferating. So we used to do go-arounds with our long-term guests. Yeah, now I think we've grown to the size where we we express our gratitude, but so at the time we were going around talking about what we appreciate of the guests. And I found myself just bursting into tears. It was so embarrassing. I'm like, oh, I'm so sad you're leaving. I'm like, wait, you don't actually know this person. They've been here about 3 months. Yeah, but it's again, all this attachment, right? Of like, oh, this is my old friend. They interact in a way that I don't get from the community anymore. I'm so lonely, and so forth. Yeah. So yeah, again, to just see that come up, even with a guest passing through, was sobering. Yeah, and really helped me see I have a big problem with this attachment to people I consider friends, or who behave a certain way, or who have certain attributes. So what do you do? Right? Show up for teachings, listen to the teachings, apply those antidotes, just as Venerable said this morning, again and again and again and again. Yeah, and we chant this every week. Yeah, just this. How do we see our friends after we become Dharma practitioners? Just these 2 verses from the 37 practices of Bodhisattvas. When you keep their company, your 3 poisons increase, and your activities of hearing, thinking, and meditating decline, and they make you lose your love and compassion. Give up bad friends. This is the practice of Bodhisattvas. So as long as people. If interacting with people is causing us to move away from the Dharma, I know when I first met the Dharma, I had to give up a group of friends who were upset. All they wanted to do on Sunday was play mahjong and gamble. Like, that's just not what I want to spend Sunday doing. They were so upset with me because, yeah, you're leaving that group. But over time, it was just like, we don't share that interest. Yeah. And instead, when we rely on them, your faults come to an end and your good qualities grow like the waxing moon. Cherish spiritual teachers even more than your own body. This is the practice of bodhisattvas. Yeah. So, but our teacher is not always around all the time, right? Venerable is about to leave on a trip, and it's not like, you get into trouble and you can be like, Venerable, help! She's like, oh, okay, please, are you not listening to the teachings? The goal is to work with our own minds, right? So I had a happy moment in the past few months where, again, I had dug myself into yet another affliction pit and was feeling discouraged and tired and not so happy and so on. And my mind actually had the thought, oh, you should read Aryadeva's 400 stanzas. And I thought, oh, I guess I should. Yeah, and I followed that thought. That was the first text I had studied when I first moved to the Abbey. Venerable Chögyam kindly gave us a full set of teachings on this text, also to prepare us for receiving teachings from Geshe Yeshe Tabke. Yeah, and at the time, I had come here just to meditate. Yeah, I mean, we've learned the Lamrim. I learned how to meditate on it. But the whole idea that we were going to study a lot and get these intensive teachings on philosophical texts was like, what? What did I sign up for? Like, this is really difficult. I really struggled with that text at the start, like the whole first chapter is on death. Like, oh, okay. So it was interesting to see that thought pop up. I mean, of course, over time you develop a relationship with the teachings and you see that they really benefit you. So it was just nice to see that when my mind was in trouble, it said to itself, please go and read this text. So that's what I've been doing in the meditation sessions, and that has just been really helpful. Over time, I actually have the feeling Aryadeva is my friend. He's actually telling me what is really going to help. What no other person could, I could not call any of my old friends and get this kind of advice. Yeah. So I thought to just read some of the choice quotes. I mean, there's so many from this text. Yeah. But, chapter 1, yeah, and the first 4 chapters I think are crucial and will be very helpful for our upcoming winter retreat because they deal with the 4 misconceptions, which is what the 4 establishments of mindfulness are helping us with. So chapter 1 on death, overcoming the misconception that things are impermanent, the things that are impermanent are permanent. Yeah. So Aryadeva says, If you consider future goals but not your waning life, who would call intelligence such selling of yourself? Yeah. So yeah, it's like don't sell yourself to these worldly aims that you have, right? If you don't reflect on the preciousness of this life and your actual human potential to become fully awakened, yeah, you are selling yourself. Just that use of that word makes me like sit up. And then chapter 2, we get into looking at how we misconceive things that are painful, feelings that are painful as actually being pleasurable. So Aryadeva says, thinking the alleviation of pain is pleasure is like someone who feels delight vomiting into a gold pot. Right? Yeah. Yes, it's true. I still get hooked, right? It's like, oh, yay, right? Vomit into a gold pot, good enough. Yeah. Attached yet again to the wrong short. Yeah, but it's like with such compassion that he says this, no? He's like, why are you settling for grade F? Yeah, why do you want to like delight over vomiting into a gold pot? You could have so much better, okay? That's the message I'm getting from his text. Chapter 3, seeing what is foul as beautiful. So lots of helpful verses on attachment to sex. And he says here, you cannot have intercourse constantly with a woman or a man to match your attentiveness to her or him. So why keep her possessively with the thought, she is mine and no one else's? I guess you just don't expect in this kind of old, many centuries old text, kind of like all this advice about sex, but he gives it, yeah, like, really, you think this is going to bring you happiness? Or the one about how even if there were pleasure from sex, it doesn't come from just one person. It arises from many causes and conditions. So why are you just so obsessed with one person? Yeah. So he's helping us in so many ways to work with our attachment. And then chapter 4 is on our misconception of things that are selfless as having a self, right? And one that stood out for me was him saying, society's servant paid with a sixth part. Why are you so arrogant? Your becoming the agent of actions depends on being placed in control. Yeah. So here, a constant reminder that anytime we get puffed up, it's anything, even our position of leadership or any good qualities we have, just arise in dependence on other causes and conditions, not on something special about ourselves. So that's what I've been slowly reading. And it's just been nice to see that, to understand who your real friends are. And that's taken a long time to even move my mind toward. So that's something I rejoice in, and that, I'm continuing to read Aradeva's kind advice. And now we're getting lots of kind advice from Shantideva. It's never something we get on the first pass. Yeah, that's my experience. I had to hear the teachings from Venerable, hear them from Geshe Tabke. I spent almost 1 year like rereading, checking the notes, making meditation notes. And to know that totally pays off in terms of really getting familiar with the text and knowing that this is my true friend. This is what will help me when my mind is afflicted and can help me get to liberation and awakening.